Welcome to Trifecta Collective, Finding the Root, where we dive deep into understanding and addressing root causes of chronic health issues so you can help and find healing inside and out, now and forever.
Hello, and welcome to Trifecta Collective, Finding the Root. I'm Megan Abbott, owner and founder of the holistic health practice, Trifecta Collective. Welcome to the podcast. So today, another special guest, repeat guest, who's actually going to talk a lot more today, potentially even more than me, is Andi, who is our behind the scenes everything. Well, I can't remember. We just came up with a name for your official title that I can't even remember. But yeah, she's our behind the scenes everything kind of person within the company. And today we are going to have almost like a Q&A kind of session about mold and healing from mold. And Andi is in really like the middle of a mold, we can call it quote unquote like a mold detox, or we would call it healing work, with mold being one of her big root causes. And yeah, we just wanted to share a little bit. Andi wanted to share more about her experience so far and how things are going. And then we also want to dive into just different things that we'll often see along a lot of healing journeys, and in particular when it comes to mold, and things to think about when it comes to healing from mold, and all of the things, how we even got started looking at mold as an issue, all of the things. So welcome, Andi, to the podcast again.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, what was the name that we came up with for your job title?
The behind the scenes Baroness. Because, alliteration.
Yeah.
I am the Baroness.
Exactly.
Thank you. Address me as such.
Yes. I love it, because I change Andi's title every time I talk to anyone. It's always like something just a little bit different, because I never know what to call her. Like VA, admin, like none of those feel appropriate for the level of work that Andi does within the company. So I'm like, but you're like more than that. And I just don't even know. So yeah, behind the scenes. Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Like, let's talk first about, and I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, but this chronologically makes sense to me from our list of like, what work have you done previously, and what kind of led you to like, okay, we do need to do some mold work. What does this look like? Like, why do we need to do it? All that kind of stuff.
So when I first came to Trifecta Collective 3-ish years ago, I went through a parasite protocol. It was super helpful. I was feeling great and good. And then the last, 2 to 3 years have just been chaos, I think, for both of us. But last year in particular, all of 25, I've been traveling all across the country. I've spent time in New Orleans, which is where I'm at now, and it's very moldy here. Everything's damp all the time. It's a swamp. So I noticed in like January, February, March last year, I really started feeling the effects of the mold that I had been surrounded by, working in all day, living in all day. Just kind of in general, when you're spending time in public places here, especially after, Katrina and all of the damage that was done, there's a lot of mold in the walls and things. I think things have been remediated in a lot of places, but it's just something for people who, especially who are sensitive or have frequent exposure, it's going to affect them a lot differently. But I started feeling the side effects of that, of like a lot of brain fog, so much itching. Oh my gosh, so itchy. Uh, the goop in the morning coming out of your eyes, out of your face. It's just like, it's really yucky, very unpleasant. So a lot of those types of things I was experiencing, and I said something to Brendan and Megan, and I was like, girls. And they were like, absolutely. So here we are, back doing a protocol again, and I'm thankful that I have you guys to work with.
Yeah, of course. And I just want to go back a little bit more and talk about a couple other things that you and I have talked about, but I want to pull these in because I do think they are very relevant here. So, we've done work. We did a lot of like gut work, parasite work. We also did a lot of heavy metal work. If you're not watching and can't see Andi, and you probably can't even tell just from like the screen here either, Andi has a lot of tattoos and continues to get tattoos as of this moment. And we know that almost all ink tattoos, not saying tattoos are bad. By the way, I also have tattoos as well, not as much as any, but I do have a couple, that almost all tattoo ink has a high concentration of heavy metals. And so we've done heavy metal work, and even after that, outside of protocols, you continue to do quite a bit of liver support. So let's just like talk about like continued support that you've done for your body.
Okay, so that's super important. Liver detox function, attention support, all of those things are so critical. I do castor oil packs nearly every day. I had to build up to that. Just saying that disclaimer right now, like don't roll out here, throw some castor oil on your liver and wear it for an entire day. You will get so sick. Um, Not even kidding. Epsom salt baths. I take a lot of baths. I don't soak in the recommended amount. I like to use probably closer to like 6 to 8 cups in a bath, just because that really actually helps me. Otherwise, I don't notice a difference. But soaking in the Epsom salt baths helps a lot for detox, for opening up those pathways. Let's see, what else do I do? Rebounding. I'm a bouncy person. I jump in place a lot. It's just kind of something I do. I wander around my apartment a lot. I just kind of bebop, and I'm always moving. So moving is good for lymphatic flow, taking short walks, that kind of thing. Just getting movement in. But rebounding in particular, bouncing in place, jumping rope, those sorts of things are really beneficial. Sauna work is very beneficial. Sweating in general, I'm doing that because I'm in the South. So lots of sweating. Um, let's see, what else do I do? Uh, Little things like food. I really pay attention to food. Lemon is really, really detoxifying. Lots of herbs are very detoxifying, so I focus on that. I try to eat as whole foods, many whole foods as I can. I try to stay away from processed things. Uh, oh, products that I use in my day-to-day life. I try to use clean things, cleaner products, environmentally friendly products. They have a lot less parabens and stuff like that. I don't use air fresheners ever. My apartment smells like a dog. It's okay, but I would rather have that natural smell than like the Febreze and the plugins because they're so, so bad for you. And that just clogs up your liver. And it's, yeah, more for your body to have to work to process. And I would rather have to work to process other fun things than have to process scents and smells and laundry, detergent yuckiness, and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Andy's done a lot of continued support outside of protocols.
Binders.
If I remember correctly,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I was going to say you've done a few. I know we've talked about this, and I can't remember how often we've done this, but we've done full moon protocols to help with gut drainage support, just like as maintenance, which we love to recommend to all of our clients kind of long term, just 1 to 3 times a year, depending on your level of exposure, things like that. And then I also just want to like note 2 things about things that you mentioned. So the first one is the baths. So we love a high salt level bath. We do not recommend starting there, just like anything else. Start with about half to 1 cup for most people. If you're sensitive, if you're not super sensitive and maybe you already take some baths, 2 cups is kind of like for the average person, I think a good starting point, but 2 to 8 cups is usually where we land as far as, and I'll tell you when I was, before living like I do now, so many baths. I mean, just like multiple times a week, and 8 cups. 8 cups every single time. Like, give me all of that magnesium, give me that support, all that kind of stuff. And work up to that. There are some really good deals on Amazon, just by the way, for massive 19 I used to get 19-pound bags of Epsom salt. Fragrance free, just like plain Epsom salt. And I'd go through that every couple weeks, if I'm being honest.
Me too.
The other thing I wanted to mention, so good. It is probably the number one thing that I miss. Living a nomadic RV kind of life is just a good bathtub. And there's nowhere around here that, I mean, both you and I have looked. I solicited Andy's help for this, of like a place that has soaking tubs, like a spa or somewhere that has soaking tubs, and they are not around, which is mind blowing because back in Richmond, there was several, I mean, there were so many. There was like so many places where I could go and like soak in a big, giant, amazing bathtub with all the things.
Yep.
So very disappointing, Arizona, with where I am. Just in that, get your game together. The other thing I wanted to mention is the lemon. So a lot of people love like the warm water with lemon and maybe put some honey in there, which inherently is not a bad thing. And caution, if you do that regularly, be very careful. You're eroding the enamel on your teeth. Doing it, like for people who are doing it every day, and once again, like I was told to do this a long time ago when I was during my own health journey. I've just drank that hot water with lemon every single morning. Cool, did it. Yeah, it really impacts your teeth. Do not do it every day. Here and there, totally fine, and not every day.
Or use a straw.
So yeah, yeah, you can use a straw. I hate straws. The motion of your mouth, I don't like. It is very
Interesting.
I don't know. There's something very unnatural about it for me that I just do not like. So I am not a straw person across the board.
You're not going to
But
want to
to
use
each their
that
own.
then.
No. No. I almost never have hot water with lemon anymore. I actually had it once last week, and it was just because I was cold and I didn't feel like tea. I just wanted something warm in my body right then. So, okay. So you were in your traveling journeys, visible mold where you were living. Let's also keep in mind, just like as a general reminder, you will often not see mold. It's real sneaky. It can hide in all kinds of places. And if you are in somewhere that is prone to like a lot of water, like hurricanes, if you live somewhere like really humid, like New Orleans is like almost everyone I talk to from New Orleans, they're like, I'm chronically ill. I'm like, you probably have a mold issue. Just, I don't even need to look at labs. I don't need to talk about your symptoms. I could just say, probably. You probably do. That also doesn't mean that living in a dry area, you won't have mold either, because there's plenty of mold in Arizona and Colorado and some of these places that are a lot drier. So location doesn't always matter, and location can matter in some circumstances here. So I think that's important to note. So you saw visible mold. You started getting really itchy, goopy. Brain fog was a big thing here. Any other symptoms that you were like, oh, something just feels really off?
Yeah. So things you wouldn't normally think of. My nails have gotten really brittle and just not like they used to be. In fact, like they kind of split sometimes at the end, so I have to keep them on the shorter side. Um, Toenail fungus. That was another one I've got like on my big toe. And it's just at that corner going back. But again, like never had that in my life. Um, BV. I get BV infections a lot. Like I thought I was getting yeast infections. I would go to the gynecologist and she's like, nah, sis, you've got a bacteria issue. Um, so, it's just annoying. It's not something that like, I don't know, takes away from my day to day, but it's highly annoying and happens all the time. So, something that I definitely wanted to fix and look into.
Yeah, those are all really common things. So when we think about mold, we think mold is automatically going to cause mast cell issues, whether you have underlying issues or not. And most women in particular already have some underlying stress issues going on, which can trigger mast cell issues that can also trigger histamine issues, thus the itching, like intense itching. And that is present for many. It is not present for all. This is why mold is real sneaky here. So the BV, yeast infections, UTIs, like recurrent, any of those three, like being recurrent, automatically we need to look at mold, because it's so common with mold, because mold will feed and fuel bacteria, yeast, fungus, and parasites within the entire body. And so it's really common that we'll have not only gut issues, but also, like, if we think about our other microbiomes, we'll have vaginal microbiome issues, we'll have oral microbiome issues. Oral microbiome issues can trigger all kinds of other issues within the body. If we think about root canals get infected. Like, once again, we're working on getting a biological dentist on here, but like 80 to 90% of the time, I feel pretty good saying that. Crowns, all kinds of stuff going on within your mouth play a really big role here. And I also just want to touch on, when Andi came to us and was like, hey, I think I'm having some mold issues. She talked to Brendan originally, and just wanted to touch on a few things in the labs that when we looked at, one, we already knew kind of going into this that mold was an issue because we knew you lived in it. And we always like to look at labs. And so we're always like, okay, but what's going on with your lab work too? And, we saw low alkaline phosphatase, which is the zinc, which is the nail issue. The nail splitting, if you have the white lines on your nails, very brittle nails, oftentimes zinc is playing a really big role in this. Parasites feed off of zinc. When you've got mold, you have parasites, usually systemic parasites, which will really heavily feed off of your zinc. Liver enzymes were not in the best place. Blood sugar dysregulation issues. This is a big one, cholesterol. All of your main cholesterol markers, HDL, LDL, and triglycerides, are all technically within our range, and all of them are on the low side, which is a red flag, is a big deal, because that can really play a big role in our hormone health, our sex hormone health, and also our cognitive and mental and emotional health, because cholesterol is a transport unit. Sex hormones and neurotransmitters are the two big ones that it transports. We saw tons of nutrient deficiencies really across the board, and then gut overgrowth issues were the other ones here. So yeah, we knew, just based on symptoms, your history, obviously just living in mold, and then with this labs. And we chose not to do additional testing. We did not feel like that was necessary, that we could go right into a treatment plan to help and support your body. Now, that is a personal decision. Sometimes that we do not give people the option. We're like, we need a test. We need some more information to confirm whether it is or not. But for some cases, we don't need that, especially, once again, you saw the mold when you were living in New Orleans. You have too many symptoms that relate to mold along with these labs that, of course, it's mold. Of course, we need to address this. So yeah, we dove right in. We also, because of the work that, one, you've already done, but also the continued work, specifically the drainage pathway support work, we skipped some steps in your protocol to we didn't need to start at the very beginning like we do with some people. You're not very sensitive to supplements, which some other people are. You've been through bigger protocols before. You know kind of what you're in for. Mold is a little bit of a different beast overall, and there are some similarities here. So we can kind of see those as we go along. So we chose to skip some steps and kind of go into, not straight into the mold work. Very dangerous.
Right.
Very dangerous. And so let's even say, like, skipping the step, you're about to dive into like the big mold binder, doing some more systemic parasite work, things like that. But you've done some gut work so far. You've done some drainage work, introduced like call it like a medium level binder here. So thus far, what are you noticing? Good, bad, other, all the things?
So I noticed that it comes in cycles a lot, especially with like my hormones, the moon, like all of that stuff has an influence. So I've noticed that the last couple of days, especially I woke up with my period this morning, so I've noticed the last couple of days, especially the parasite stuff has been a little more increased. My sleep hasn't been as good. I've been getting the jaw pain down my neck where like almost where you feel like you're having an allergic reaction to something that you ate. Where almost like your throat's kind of closing up too, and you're like, ugh, and you have to like stretch it out. And I've been told that that's been more of the parasite activity going on right there. So I noticed that the last few days, overall, things have been getting better, especially like as I'm implementing more of the castor oil packs and the baths. And I started doing some of the dry brushing, which I am not fond of. I definitely don't like that, but I can do it. It's all right. It's not like getting tattooed, but it is abrasive and it's not fun. But I've noticed that with the extra drainage supports and things have been getting better. My brain fog hasn't been quite as bad. It's still there, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite as bad. I feel like the clarity is starting to come back most days. Today is a like particularly bad day. Again, like I said, it comes in waves. It can be, you know, cyclical even, but I've noticed the brain fog's pretty bad today. I'm pretty tired today. I'm feeling a little weak, just kind of like, oh, not super fantastic. So it's been kind of all over the place. Good days, bad days.
Yeah. Couple really important things I just want to highlight from what you just shared. So the waves. Man, is this a big thing? You know, one of the big questions I always get, especially on consults, if someone's brand new to this space in particular, is, am I going to feel worse before I feel better? And that's a really tough question for me to answer. Some people do feel a little bit worse, but if your baseline is already like not great, it's almost like the same. You're like, are you going to feel worse? Like, oh, you just might feel kind of the same. You might get a little bit better, and then you might go back to where you started. And it can really, I mean, really be like a roller coaster of just like a little bit better. Okay, a little bit worse. Okay, a little bit better, a little bit worse. Now, if we see like significant dips where someone's having like a really, really challenging time, we need to adjust. We need to do something different. I recently had a client who were working on mold, and she responded really well at the beginning. No sensitivity to supplements, like anything we've done just far. And then all of a sudden, when we introduced like some of the, started increasing both the mold binder and systemic parasite products that we were using, wow. Like she had a crazy reaction. And she's like, is this normal? Like, is this bad? I'm like, we just went too fast. Your body was responding really well. So we went, at a normal kind of pace that we'll often do. And it was just too much. And we just need to pull back. And now she's doing just fine. And we're just going slower and everything. And it's, it sucks. And we have to listen to your body. You should not be like hardcore suffering. You should still be able to live a pretty normal life. No, you're probably not going to feel 100% while you're doing this. And by the way, some people do. So not ruling that out either. And most people, it's waves. You're riding the waves of feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit worse, feeling a little bit better, feeling a little bit worse. And for women in particular, this is really big because if we think about when you're actively detoxing, we'll say anything, we have to understand that that is an extra stress on the body. And so if your body doesn't have enough capacity to do the detox work that we're doing and do your normal like hormone detox, we'll call it detox work, but just filtering out excess, we have hormone pathways that should be open and clear, and ideally we're having good hormone patterns and cycles and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is that most women aren't. So that can happen for sure. There's also, when we think about mold in particular, mold parasites especially, once again, mold is going to trigger mast cell issues. Chronic mast cell issues are going to trigger a histamine response or histamine intolerance. And estrogen, histamine, negative feedback loop. They feed off of each other. So when estrogen goes up, like right before the start of your period, right at the beginning of your period, right around ovulation, estrogen is going to start to rise, which means that it's going to trigger histamine to also rise. And so we may see worsening symptoms revolving around that. Same thing when stress is higher within the body, we're going to see progesterone drop, which gives the body a perceived level of excess estrogen, whether it is or not, which can also drive up histamine. It can also cause sleep issues, mood issues. And this is more of a hormone thing, and mold and parasite work can also impact hormones. So can many other things. So I think it's important to like look at all of this, that there's so many pieces of the puzzle that we need to look at. And I think as practitioners, it's really important that we are aware, especially if we're working with women, which that is 98% of who we work with. We have to keep all of these things in mind. And we'll often see cycles of, hey, I'm feeling good or I'm feeling this way during this time, but then I feel like I get a drop all of a sudden. Why? It's like, okay, where were you in your cycle? What was going on? Like what sleep, stress, like an emotional event? Like, were you ovulating? Were you like, just a few days outside of your period? In which case, like progesterone may not be in the best place and we may see that estrogen. So all of these things. Long story short, all that's to say is because of women and we have our hormones, it's different. It's different for us a lot of times. And it's really important and really valuable to understand that. And if you are a woman working with a practitioner, it's really important that you work with someone who does understand hormones, women's cycles, whether it's male, female, other, you just need someone who understands this because there's so many correlations between all of these things and our hormones. The other thing I wanted to mention is the brain fog and kind of lack of clarity. So this is really common for a lot of people, for a lot of things. You're also, if someone's not watching, you are in your early 40s. I won't say your exact age. I don't know how you feel about that, but you're in your early 40s. So potentially you are in a perimenopausal age range where you could, in theory, not saying you are, you could in theory be experiencing perimenopausal shifts. So I think that's also important to know because that can also impact your brain, your cognitive function, especially once again, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm pretty sure you're okay talking about it. But you have ADD or ADHD, and that can get worse as we go through perimenopause, as our estrogen starts to drop, because estrogen is really important for our brain and cognitive function. And women in particular who have a history of ADD, ADHD often will experience some of those symptoms more significantly going into perimenopause. And once again, lots of things can impact the brain and brain health and hormone health. I mean, mold and parasites impact hormones. So we're automatically going to see some shifts going on, and some of this can set us into early perimenopause, but that also means that we can come out of it if we rebalance the body and give the body really what it needs. So I think all of those are really important to just like look at, talk about, mention, think about, all that kind of stuff. Anything else you wanted to share on that piece so far?
No, I think that about covers it.
Yeah. I'll also say for you, everyone is a little bit different, and we have some like standard things that we do for most people, especially early on when it comes to like mold, gut stuff, all those kinds of things. And one thing that we are doing in particular for you, and this is where the individuality and personalization of protocols really comes into play here, is we are supporting your brain a little bit more and longer than we will often do for many people. And one of the big products that we are using is something called Advanced TEDCA. This is from a company called Cellcore. And TEDCA in general, super great. Cellcore's TEDCA is unlike any other on the market. And yes, we've run many tests on these. We've compared Advanced TEDCA from Cellcore to, I think it's at least 3, if not 4 other brands. And the one from Cellcore is like any other. By the way, like I am not an only Cellcore product fan. You also cannot get these by and large, just over the counter, full disclosure. And if you want access, please let us know, reach out. We can give you access and a discount to them if you want them. But this is something that's really valuable because the TEDCA helps to continue to drain the brain. Mold and heavy metals in particular can get into our brain and exacerbate a lot of these cognitive issues. And so with you wanted some extra support with your brain. So it's like, okay, well, let's keep draining the brain. Let's keep using the TEDCA to help filtering out the mold, heavy metals, like anything else that's in your brain, because that's so important. That's such a big piece of just like healing and having. We need our brains. We need our brains to work, to just work and live on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And I've noticed a bigger difference, excuse me, since using it and also the biophycetin. The two of them, I've noticed like when I started taking that regularly, that's where a big difference came in.
Yeah. And so the biophycetin is a mast cell stabilizer. And if you don't know by now, there are 16 that we often work with. Biophycetin is one that we really like. One, it's cheap. Two, it's really effective for a lot of people. And it works on mast cell stabilization. So it works, that little life extension bottle. No affiliation. We just happen to like that brand. Once again, cheap, cost effective. Yeah, and it works. You can also take it as needed. We can take it every day. It just kind of depends on the person. Helps with a lot of those histamine issues, helps with some cognitive issues, different things like that from the histamine, essentially, mast cells and histamine. And yeah, so that's a really good, especially entry level one. Some people need something a little bit stronger. A lot of people don't though. And so you do really like that particular product. A lot of people will also notice, and we actually haven't talked about this, but you also haven't brought it up. So I'm assuming it's not an issue, but we can also talk about it. So a lot of people will experience issues sleeping, and specifically waking up at certain times in the night or waking up and feeling really congested. And this is for two reasons, essentially. One, histamine levels are naturally higher at night for everyone. And so if you already have a histamine issue, mast cell and or histamine issue, your issues are probably going to be worse at night. So taking it before bed can be really valuable. There's also a thing called a histamine dump, which is super fun. And what'll happen is usually anywhere between like 3:30 to 5:30, you essentially just wake up. Sometimes you get stuffy, sometimes you're not stuffy, sometimes you're just awake and you're like, I have no idea why I'm awake right now. Well, it's because there was a huge dump of histamine inside of your body that triggered a stress response. And now you probably had a spike of cortisol. You also had probably a little bit of a spike of adrenaline. And you might be congested now as well, or itchy. It kind of depends on the person. And it may be challenging to fall back asleep. And the fisetin can be effective in taking that before bed to help hopefully prevent a histamine dump, and or even just keeping it by your bed and taking that as soon as you wake up. If you are having those histamine dumps, that can be really supportive as well.
Love that
So
stuff. It helps with all the itching.
Things. Yeah, the itching can be wild. So we talked about supplements here. We talked about kind of like lifestyle, liver supporting activities. What else? Like, what are you doing from like nutrition, like any other lifestyle things, like movement stuff, nervous system stuff? Like, what are other things that are also supportive for you right now?
Okay, so my big thing right now is meal prepping. I know everyone groans when they hear meal prep. I do too. It's okay. But any day I go to the grocery store, I don't even like put stuff away. Like I'll put some stuff away, but anything fresh that I need to prep, because again, ADHD, I will not eat it if I don't see it right in front of me. And if it's not already prepped, I'm going to look at it and go, yeah, that takes effort. I need to use my effort elsewhere. It's not priority, whatever. So on grocery day, I come home, I get everything out, I wash the veggies, the fruit, whatever. I cut it, I prep it, I stick it in the fridge. I've even cooked off extra meat. I really like to take a London broil it for like 8 minutes on each side, and then just slice it into really nice like pieces. And I keep it in the fridge. And I just, when I need some extra protein or I need a snack, I'll eat a piece of that. I am terrible at eating. I've had food aversions my entire life. I just don't like to eat. I'm not a person who enjoys eating. I don't always feel great after I eat. I don't like textures. Like I don't know. I know I have to sustain life. So that's how I eat. is to sustain. So that being said, if something is easily accessible and it's sitting directly in front of me, that makes it easier for me to take a bite here, a bite there. I don't have to sit there and eat everything in one meal, especially because I am not physically capable of doing that. It makes it so much better for me to graze throughout the day so that I'm actually eating. Like I have gained weight, for me personally, gained weight doing this and put it on because I'm consistently eating now instead of just like, oh, it's 9 p.m. and I haven't eaten yet today. Oopsies. Especially when I get into like whatever I'm doing and I'm super focused, I don't think about it. I know I am one of the minority here, but for me, that has just made such a tremendous difference. The meal prepping and just having things accessible and ready and easy. So that way, if I do want to make dinner, I can like make some rice or something, roast some veggies quick, and then I've got that steak already there done. I just rewarm it. I know like a lot of people have histamine issues with that. I am so fortunate that I am not super sensitive to food or other things along those lines. So I can do that. Not everyone can. So a good way to get around that is still do all your food prep, but throw it in the freezer because that lowers the histamine levels in it. Especially when you cook for frozen. So thought I would throw that in there. As far as like liver lifestyle things, or movement lifestyle things, I walk every morning. I get up, I take the dog out, I get natural light in my eyes, I get gentle movement in. Half the time I'm walking for coffee. But again, I'm killing multiple birds with one stone. So that helps me stay on track with stuff. I do associative tests. So like when I wake up, I grab the dog. Oh, that beans. We go, we get the coffee. The other things happen in line with it. Everything works out. So when I kind of tie things together that way, that really helps me stay on track and do this thing.
Yeah, for sure. And the fruit prepping thing is so, I do know some people like love it, some people hate it. I used to be just in the bodybuilding world, everything is about meal prepping, and we don't do it like that anymore. We plan out all of our meals, we plan out groceries, we plan out what days we're eating what, and certainly we have flexibility within that, but my Jonathan, my fiance, does a lot of the cooking. I cook on Mondays. I have like one meal a week where I cook. That is my day to cook. And we decide ahead of time, like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Like, how do you feel about this? And we just batch make food. I mean, I made chili this weekend or on Monday, and I mean, we'll eat that for the next week and a half for lunches, between lunches and dinners. And so it was super, it took me less than 30 minutes. The recipe is in our cookbook.
I love
If
that
you
cookbook.
don't have access to that, it's so good. Yeah, we've gotten some pretty great reviews on the cookbook so far.
I need to
So
put a link for that
you
in
don't
the
get a
bio.
copy of that. Yeah. So we'll put that down in the show notes so that you can get access to that. But I also want to talk about the weight gain and just like eating in general. So not everyone gains weight during this process. Some people lose weight. Most people stay pretty steady here. Here's a big thing, though, that I think a lot of women can feel frustration around. Working with us in life, in perimenopause, all of these things. And this is most of us, as women in particular, have starved ourselves for most of our lives. And we are not eating enough, which then makes us more chronically ill and can cause other health issues going on here. And so I think for you, Andi, I think you're eating more like a regular human in what you need to, and getting just the nutrients, just like the day-to-day nutrients that you need, in which case your body's used to a certain amount of calories and it adapts very, very quickly. And so now you're eating to fuel your body from a healing perspective, but also this is going to help you long-term as well, just in your overall health. And I think that's an important thing to understand is many women, especially many women that we work with, often are not eating enough and are starving themselves essentially, and which is very stressful. Let's talk about some cortisol here. Like significant cortisol issues. And we do need to eat a certain amount of calories a day, just as a baseline human being to get the majority of the nutrients that we actually need. If we think about from a macro kind of standpoint, not that we do a lot of that, and it was a big part of my life for many, 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 many years. I would never recommend any woman really go under like 1,400 calories. Even that can be a little low. I mean, it's just hard to get enough nutrients that, like, once again, baseline that your body needs. And so focusing on quality protein, on vegetables, especially if you are still menstruating, like not going too low carb, good, healthy fats, whether that's eating multiple times a day, whether that's eating, 3 larger meals, whether that's more like grazing or small meals throughout the day. Depends on the person, depends on your digestion. For me, I hate snacking. I'm not about it. I have no interest in it. And give me like 3 big, good quality meals. And that, like, what makes me feel the best. And that is not the case for everyone. And that is okay. But I think that shift of fueling and feeding your body, and that's really how we look at nutrition, of like, how do we feed and fuel your body? How do we give your body the nutrients that it needs? Andi in her labs like definitely needed some more protein, like lots and lots of nutrient deficiencies. And not all of that is just from not eating. A lot of that is the mold, all of the gut overgrowth issues that are stealing your nutrients or not allowing your nutrients to be properly absorbed like they should be. And so it's a double-edged sword. So it's how do we support your body from really a holistic perspective, not just supplements, not just nutrition, like really looking at the whole thing to make sure your body has the energy to heal. Because that's really big. If our body doesn't have the energy to heal, it's not going to do a great job. The body's really cool and really fascinating and amazing, and it can heal from all kinds of things given the right conditions. And for women in particular, that means lowered stress, which means eating to fuel your body. Lots of good protein, lots of good fats, not too low carb, no coffee first thing in the morning until you've eaten. Andi's really big on that. She loves talking about it. We all love talking about it. We all love our coffee also, by the way, but we always eat breakfast first. And that's so, so, so important for so many reasons. Blood sugar regulation. And if you have mold issues, you probably have blood sugar dysregulation issues. They go hand in hand. Mold causes blood sugar dysregulation issues in the vast majority of people who have mold illness and mold toxicity. You could be eating the cleanest, perfect diet, and you can still have blood sugar issues. And those can look pretty widespread, whether that's like high glucose, high insulin, low glucose, high insulin, low everything, high everything, little wonky, little all over the place. We've seen it all. And a lot of times mold is playing a role in a lot of this, especially with a very clean diet and lifestyle. So I think that's really important to note when it comes to all of that. And let's also talk about the one thing I do want to dive deeper into, like things that you're doing. And obviously you and I have so many conversations about this. This is a big topic in our practice overall, is the nervous system. What are you doing to support your nervous system? And what we mean by nervous system is being present and also not getting stuck in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, being able to move in and out of our natural states of when stress is high, we go into a sympathetic state. When stress is low, we go back into a parasympathetic state, and being able to navigate that throughout the day and not just getting stuck in one or the other, but being able to flow as we should be, as we're designed to be between those two states. And so what does that look like for you?
So my morning is like my favorite thing ever. I love just getting up and getting just that sunlight on my face. Feels amazing. I want to be out there for a bit. So whether that's a walk or I'm fortunate enough to live right next door to a park, I like to go to the park and take my shoes off and just sit, stand, whatever. Grounding is so important. And I really feel like vibrationally being in nature or on the earth, on the ground, whether it's your hands, your feet, something natural and you touching is just such good therapy. It's such good therapy. So I love doing that. just hanging out with my dog. I know it's silly, but like laying in bed with her and snuggling her and getting all up in that squishy little bulldog face. The mom voice came out, but that squishy little face and telling her she's pretty. I mean, 10 minutes of that, and like, who could be mad? Who? Who could be upset about anything? So little things like that, I think making tasks and lists and crossing off lists. I know that sounds silly too, but that's something that makes me so happy and makes me feel so good that like I have post-it notes all over my place with little things of to remember, to do, to whatever. And anytime I can cross something off, it's just like a little dopamine hit. And if something silly and simple like that, that's free, that works, I mean, why not just have post-it notes everywhere? So I like the obscure, weird little things to regulate my nervous system a lot. I do a lot of yester Andys. Yester Andy is yesterday me, who likes to leave little surprises and things for myself for like the next day or whenever I happen to stumble across it. And I do it often enough and don't remember that it actually works. So yeah, those are the kind of things that I like to do. Most normal people would like to, go sit and have lunch with a friend or something. I, on the other hand,
And here's the thing, we all have our things that bring us joy. And I do want to highlight just one of these. And there may be even more meaning than you even realize. And that is like cuddling with your pet. And we can also say like cuddling with a loved one. That I think would also include animals and pets in that too. I know for me too, just give me anything like small and fluffy and just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to love on it so hard. I gotten cold over the last week and Cusco, our cat, I tuck him in everywhere. I'm like, you look cold. Your butt looks cold. I'm just going to put a blanket on you, or a jacket or like something like that. Yeah. And just like, I'll lay with him next to him. I do the same thing with Jonathan, by the way. It's just right before this call, I was like, can you just come lay down with me for like 5 minutes? I need some co-regulation. So this co-regulation thing is a really big deal and something that for me has been very valuable in my own healing journey and just being able to co-regulate with people and or animals that feel very safe to me. And that is like, that's great for your nervous system for sure. And all of these little things, people think that nervous system work has to look like, oh, I have to do like a 30-minute meditation every single day or just go do my sound bath or breath work or no, like, yeah, those are oftentimes simple things to start with. And as you progress and go along, you start to really explore and do different things that just really bring peace, bring safety, bring calm to you and your body. And all of those do have value. I love the like little surprises for yourself. I absolutely love that. And I think everyone should do that for themselves, especially if you are having memory issues. Like, do that for yourself, your future self. And man, I bet it brings a big smile to your face. The other thing I want to mention here is, and we see this a lot, is when we are in a healing journey, especially with something like mold that takes time, it can take a lot of energy. Mold, mold itself, mold illness or mold toxicity drains a lot out of you. And the healing process can feel so good, so amazing for some. And yeah, you're going to have low points too. And not saying that you're going to feel like worse than you already are, but you also probably don't feel great as a starting point anyways. So recognizing that, but we can get so caught up in this, and it's like we also need joy in our lives. And it doesn't have to be big things. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to go do this big trip. It can be, and it can be as simple as going to a park. Once again, snuggling with your animal, leaving yourself little surprises, listening. For me, like music is such a big thing, and putting on a high vibe song and just dancing around a little bit, and whether I'm in the car, maybe I'm like singing really loudly by myself where no one can hear me. No, I do not have a great voice, so I do not often sing. At the last retreat I hosted, I did sing a bit. I did not get any complaints, but I did warn them ahead of time that I'm not the best singer, and I love all of this music I'm going to be playing for the next 48 hours. So sorry, not sorry. You can put up with it. I won't scream it, but I am going to sing.
Next
But,
time we're
those
in a
little
car
things
together,
bring
you're
me.
singing.
Yes, I can do that. I just usually spare the other person of the singing. Jonathan and I have started singing a little bit more together, but but neither one of us have the best voice. I don't think either one of us are terrible, but neither of us are like, we're not going to have a singing career for sure. So, but it brings us joy, and that's so important as a part of just the healing process. And once again, it's not just about supplements. Yes, supplements are very valuable. They're very helpful, but so is nutrition and lifestyle and movement and the nervous system piece. And all of these other things are so important. And so if you're working with a practitioner who is only recommending a low histamine diet and supplements, I'm going to be honest, for most people, it's going to be very challenging to heal and stay healed long term. That is why I built this practice differently, because those were the practitioners that I saw, and it didn't work, especially long term. So we are different. We do like to operate differently. We like to look at all of these things. We do things differently. Nutrition, like, I'm not going to put someone on a low histamine diet, which is literally the worst, unless we really have to. And I think that's important that all of the practitioners here and Andi, we've all been through protocols. We've all worked with other practitioners. We've all done these things. We've all experienced what maybe not the best level of care is. And so we try and operate differently from that as best we can. We're also still human, by the way. And we do try really hard. We also care a lot in everything that we do. And I think it shows for the vast majority of our clients that we work with that we are different. We do care. We really we want to be there for people, and we want to help them. We know how hard it can be. We also know how amazing it can feel long term too, and how much of a difference it can make. So I think all of that is just really, really important to share. Wrapping up, anything else that you feel like you'd like to share or talk about, or anything you've experienced so far that you think might be valuable?
I have a funny story. So today I went and picked up my groceries, and a friend happened to mention Thanksgiving. For some reason, I have no concept of time. And I literally thought tomorrow was Thanksgiving in my head when I placed my grocery order. So I have a whole chicken, fresh chicken, all of my stuffing, the breads, all the things, and Thanksgiving is next week. And it's one of those situations where, before I placed the order, I knew that it was the following week and I still had to get through this week. But it just didn't, the crossover wasn't there. The neurons did not fire together. One just kind of hung out over here and the other one wandered over this direction and was like, and oh my gosh, I realized it literally as we were getting on this podcast call. And I just went, wow, Andi, that is stellar. Now, luckily, the chicken will be fine. I checked the date. It'll be okay. If I were a person who was ultra sensitive and had histamine issues, then I would put that in my freezer right this second. But I am going to live life on the edge and roll the dice. But just this is the kind of random silliness that occurs. And it's what an airheaded move. That's not my norm. I mean, I am a little airheaded, let's be real. But I mean, to degree, it's astronomical, the difference. So don't get frustrated with yourself. You have to be able to laugh at yourself and give yourself a little bit of grace and just be like, and scene, well done. Something, make a joke out of it, because otherwise you're just making things worse because your nervous system then is like, you're a failure. No, this is normal. This is supposed to happen. Look at me. I just nerded that one all out. It's you're not alone. Don't ever feel like you're alone. Don't feel like you're stupid. Don't feel like you're a failure. Don't let that kind of thinking upset you. Just know that it's not forever. You're going to get through this and you're going to feel better and you'll get back to being your normal, awesome self. You just got to take the time to heal.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's such a good lesson. And we do see it once again, particularly women. We want perfect. We're told to be perfect. A lot of us had to earn love and be quote unquote perfect growing up in order to get recognition, in order to get love. And love is earned. A lot of us were taught love is earned. So, when you get into a relationship, you should be doing things. You should be doing the housework. You should be superwoman. And the reality is, no, none of us are. None of us should have to be. You do not need to earn love or worthiness or compassion because you exist. You are loved. You are worthy. You are full of compassion and you deserve all of that. And none of us were meant to be superwoman. We were never meant to do it all. We were never meant to have a job, to earn money, to take care of all of the finances, to take care of the children, to take care of the home, to do everything. We're not meant to, and our bodies cannot, and they will crush at some point. And that's why perimenopause is so bad for so many women, because it hits them at that point in time. And if you have a chronic illness issue, a lot of us also learn that lesson a lot earlier, and it's a hard lesson to learn and continue to remind ourselves of. And great point of just, we are all worthy of love and compassion, and we're not perfect. And that is totally, totally okay. And if anyone demands perfection of you, we can probably say they're a POS and that they are probably stuck in their own trauma loops. And maybe we think about not spending as much time with them. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. I think that's good. And yeah, any other like final words to wrap up before I officially close?
Thanks so much for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, sharing your story, sharing about your journey, all the things. I think it's going to be super helpful for a lot of people, and know that it's about riding the waves. So thank you for joining us. As always, please like, subscribe, follow. If it resonates, 5-star reviews really, really, really mean the world to us. Thank you for joining. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're listening to this before Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday, we're going to be doing some discounts. So be sure to keep an eye out on that. It is also my birthday. So who knows? We might do something extra special, a little extra discount in there, TBD. So definitely keep up on socials, and thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.